My name is Sarah. Welcome to the It's a Sarah podcast. Today it is Friday, September 15, 2023, and this is episode 104. I'm coming to you from the Netherlands, so excuse my Dutchy English. I love to knit, I love to crochet, and I love to talk, so that's the perfect combination for making this podcast. I love talking about my knitting and crochet so much that I make episodes twice a week, and I make them in Dutch and in English, so be sure you pick the right one. I want to share my handwerk perikelen with you, my crafty adventures from this week. And I have four things on my list to share with you, to talk about. There's a blanket laying there, which I started in 2022 and my mom recently finished. I will tell you all about that in a minute. I want to give you an update about my sock cardigan, the cardigan that I'm test knitting for a Dutch designer. I've casted on a new project. It was not a planned one, but it did make me happy, so then it's a good one. And what was the fourth thing? Oh yes, I want to share a little bit more about beading dragons. Last Monday, in my episode last Monday, I told you about beading dragons. This time of the year is perfect for that, and I want to share a little bit more about that, how to bead your knitting and crochet dragon. Okay, but first let me start with what I'm wearing. I am wearing a summer top. This is my little secret crop designed by Jessie. It is still warm in the Netherlands. It's not as hot as it was last week. I think Monday was the last really hot day. And now it's actually quite summery weather. It is a bit confusing because it is already September, autumn is coming. The nights are quite cold, it's getting dark earlier, it's getting light later in the morning. And it's not, next week there's the time that day and night are equal, but now the days are a little bit longer, so I think the sun goes up. I don't know exactly, my husband does know those kind of things. When I wake up at 6, it's completely dark, and I think in the evening at 8 o'clock, 8:30 p.m. it's getting dark, I guess, I'm not sure. So there are cozy dark evenings and nights, but it's 24, 25 degrees, and this weekend it will even get higher, so it's still weather for summer tops. And this one I made last summer. It is I held 2 yarns double. I found some cotton, very much cotton in the thrift store. It's vintage cotton. It's used in the Netherlands for crocheting the little curtains. I held it double with scraps of sock yarn. I tried to fade. I didn't deep dive into the fade information and in the fade instructions. I just thought, let me combine the colors in a certain follow-up. Do you say it like that? And it was fun. I can see me doing it again, but maybe with some background information it will be better. But it was fun. So, and I do wear it quite often, this top. Okay. Sorry. Too enthusiastic. Maybe I will cut this out. No, we don't cut, Sarah. We don't cut. It is reality. Okay. The blanket. This blanket. We visited my parents last weekend, and this blanket was laying in their living room, and I said, is it finished? And my mom, I think she already told me, but I forgot a lot. This blanket is a crochet blanket I started in February 2022, so 18 months from now, roundabout. And my mom finished it, and I will tell you the story. But before I will tell you the story, I will show you the blanket because it's very lovely. Let me see. I think this is the good way. You can't see it completely because that's not. There's not enough space between the camera and my desk. but it is a crochet blanket with all those colors, a striped blanket with little waves, and yeah, it's really lovely. It is the Harbour blanket, a pattern by Lucy from Attic 24, and Lucy was my crochet queen for quite a while. She still is, but let me explain. I was a crocheter before I was a knitter, and when I started crocheting, I think it was 2020, no, 2009, do I say it? And the numbers are quite difficult. My little girl was born, and she's 13 years old right now, almost 14. And when I started crocheting, I couldn't find a lot of information on the internet. There was a Dutch blogger, her name is Claire. She made the most wonderful things, and I really was so I know the pictures on her blog. I was zooming in, and I don't know how you say it. I want to collect all the information because there hardly was any information. I don't know if Ravelry existed already, probably, but I didn't know. And YouTube was also not what it is these days, so it was really hard. But there was also the blog from Lucy from Attic 24, and she shared so much information, so much. I learned so much from her. So that was really, really special and really nice. She was my crochet queen. She is my crochet queen. She's still active. But there was a bit of a transition from crocheting to knitting, so I lost her. I didn't follow her anymore, and it was okay. But last year in February, I told about it before, I worked for a company, Lang Yarns. I made social media content. So I received big boxes filled with yarn, and I made pictures for their social media in the Netherlands. So one day I received a big box filled with over 30 colors from a new yarn. And it was a 100% acrylic yarn, and I already was not a fan of acrylic yarn anymore. I started crocheting with acrylic yarn because I didn't know better, and there was nothing better in my surrounding. Where I live, there are some yarn shops. I don't know if they were already existing by then, but there were not much possibilities, and we had some. Do you call it discount? No, so some shops, mainstream shops with very cheap yarns, and I started working with those yarns. But after a few years, I discovered the real wool, and really my love for wool was really huge. So acrylic was not what was suiting me. There's nothing wrong with you using acrylic, of loving acrylic. That's absolutely okay. But it was not my cup of tea. I said last time piece of cake, but I mean cup of tea, or it was not my taste. So when I received this box with 30 yarn balls in all the colors of 100% acrylic yarn, I couldn't ignore that sparkling inside. You know, that sparkling. It was a bit of a nostalgic feeling. I thought, oh, this is perfect for a crochet blanket. And I really felt the sparkle, and I really want to cast on the blanket. I didn't need a blanket. I didn't need an acrylic blanket, but there are people in my life who prefer acrylic blankets. So I thought, let me cast it on. It is good for the pictures. I can have heart jumping moments. It is okay. It is okay. So I casted it on, and I was just a few minutes before I started filming, I was searching for my Ravelry project page for this pattern, because I forgot the name of the blanket, and it was hibernating. I love that term. And then I saw that I also made a plan, a schedule for which week I would crochet which stripes. So it has a start date and it also was supposed to have an end date. But I didn't follow my planning because other things happened knit-wise and crochet-wise. So I remember that, I don't know how much I made, but I remember that my mom visited us, and she is also a crocheter and a knitter. And I asked her, would you like to finish this blanket? And she said, oh yes, I would love to. So she picked a basket with all the yarns and the blanket, and she finished it. But she only worked on it on Wednesdays, because Wednesday was the day they look after my little niece, their granddaughter. She's 2.5 years now. So when they are going to my sister's home, and she always brought her basket with her, because this was an easy peasy work and she could do it when the little one was sleeping or playing. So she only worked on this blanket on Wednesdays, and now it's finished, and it's really lovely. It's a 2-stripe pattern. You can do anything you want, of course, but she did. But I saw that she ran out of yarn at the end. So here, sometimes there's a 1 stripe. Yeah, it's really a lovely pattern. It is a bit of a squared shape. I don't know the measurements. I didn't take them, but now it's on my feet, and it's under my, it's on my neck, and I'm 162 meters. And it's a perfect couch blanket, I guess. It's too small for on a bed, but it's perfect. It could be a toddler blanket, but it's perfect for on the couch. And I think my parents want to bring it. They also have a caravan, a mobile home, and they want to bring it to there. And it's lovely. It is so beautiful. So I will make pictures, and I wanted to show it in my episode. And my mom definitely did the biggest part. I only had such part, I guess. So it is lovely to see that blanket finished. Okay, that was the first one. Then the second one is my sock cardigan. It's living in a brown basket. It's a bit of a mess right now. I keep the pattern and all the yarns and the needles in here, and a little bag of lavender. But I worked monogamously on this project for quite some time now. This is a tesknit. I told about it before, so I will try to keep it short, but that's not one of my talents, keeping things short. So I'm sorry if it's not, but that's who I am. So I don't apologize for who I am. So I'm not sorry. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. This is a tesknit for a Dutch knitter. It is her first design. She made designs before, but not for herself, more for a company. And this is her first garment design, I guess. And I really loved it, so I tested. And I started quite late. I had some yarn issues. I had some gauge issues. In the end, I decided to use the same yarn she did. I have my doubts about it because it's a superwash yarn, and I would never use that for an all over colorwork cardigan, but I am doing it. So, and it is. I have mixed feelings about it. I think it will work out pretty good. So I will be happy in the end. The colors are beautiful. So what I did, maybe it's a good idea to put it on. One moment, please. So I can put it on without throwing the camera away. Okay, here we are. It is a bit, a few episodes ago, I used to film with my phone on the selfie camera. I always film with my phone, but the quality of the film was not as good as when I film on my other camera. I don't know how you say how they are called. So since quite a time I film the other way, but I can't see anything. So that's okay because the quality is better, but I miss some hard jumping moments while filming, because when I can see what I'm showing, it's like a mirror, and I always think, oh, that's so beautiful, I love it. So I missed that part, but when I did film on my selfie camera a few episodes ago, I think it was so ignoring the quality, and I don't want a special camera or whatever. I don't want to own that. It's absolutely okay. But I'm now missing the heart jumping moment of seeing the cardigan on my body. But I look quite sometimes in the mirror when I'm fitting it, so that's absolutely okay. So I do have the heart jumping moments by then, but I really love it. It will be a cardigan, so there are some stick stitches in the middle. And I worked quite hard to finish the body. It's a bottom-up raglan cardigan. Needles are still in here because you have to put these stitches on hold. When the stick is finished, when you have done the stick, you will make the button bands, and then the last thing you do is knitting the border on the neckline. But I finished, I started with the ribbing at the bottom. The pattern tells you to begin with that, to start with that, but I started with a provisional cast on because I had troubles getting gauge, and I was a bit worried that my gauge was too short, so the cardigan would be too short, and because it's a bottom up, I couldn't knit it as long as I wanted to be. It was a bit hard. So I thought, let me do a provisional cast on, and when I need to, I can always add some colorwork rows at the bottom. I didn't do that, and at the end I even think it could have been, now I think it's perfect. Maybe a little bit on the long side, because I love to have my cardigans cropped to wear it on my skirts and on my dresses. I rarely wear jeans, so I own a brown and a black flare jeans, and sometimes I wear them, but I can't remember when the last time was. So when I was 10 rows before, I had 10 rows less, and I thought, oh, I think it's enough already. But I really love the big borders on the brown, so I added all the rows, and it's okay. Then for the arms, I was quite sure I would add some color work. I also did the provisional cast on. The pattern tells you to begin with the ribbing, but I started here. And I thought, let me add some rows of color work. But then I was doubting because this was longer than I thought. And I thought, wow, what shall I do? And then I thought, okay, let me start just with the ribbing, and maybe I can add some ribbing. And that's what I did in the end. I knitted the ribbing 10 rounds longer than the pattern tells you, and I love it. I love this. I never wear it like this, but I love that I can do this under my other cardigans when it's winter, when I'm going outside, or under my jacket. It is perfect, but of course mainly I will fold them back, so my hands are free and I can wear it like this, and I'm absolutely happy with the length and with the look. I do have to close the armholes. It's nice now because it's a little bit too warm for a cardigan, so I feel the fresh air. So I will start doing that. Oh, let me say a little bit detail about the ribbing. I did bind off with a crochet hook again, and I really love it. I don't know if you can see it. But it's very tiny. I was knitting my ribbing on 2mm needles. I don't even do that with socks, but on 2mm needles, and I really love the crochet bind off. I discovered it a few months ago, and I was not struggling with bind off, but I was searching for a nice bind off. I love to have my bind off not too stretchy. But mainly when it was not too stretchy, it was too messy. So I want a bind off that's not too stretchy, but also not too messy. But it was always either one of those was not happening. It was either too messy or too stretchy. or not stretchy enough. That's what I have to say. So, and then I realized that you could combine crochet and knitting, and for me that's really balanced because I am a crocheter and a knitter, so it felt very natural. The only thing is I did use a 4mm needle. That's quite bigger than the 2mm knitting needles, but otherwise it would be too tight. The only thing is that when you have to put in your crochet hook on the 2mm needle, in the beginning it's a bit fiddly and tight, and it takes some attention, but it's only the first 2 or 3 stitches, and then you are getting in the flow. And I really love the movement, the doing of the bind off this way. It feels very natural, but I also really love the look, so I'm a happy person. I think this is my bind off, favorite bind off for forever. Never say ever. But I really love, of course you can do a bind off with the knits and the purls, and this is actually a knit bind off, so you have those chains of, I have no idea if my camera is focusing in the right way, but there's laying a little chain train. Is that, do you know, a little train of chains? A train chain. That's not a term that's used, but then you know what I mean. A little train of chains around the bind off, and I really love it. And also at the bottom, it is stretchy. It is stretchy, but not too much. And the sleeves, there is enough space. I can fold down my sleeves easily without the limit of stretch at the end, but it's also not too loose, and it's looking neat, so I'm happy. I'm not happy with the warmth of the cardigan, although it is a superwash cardigan, it's still warm, so I will put it out and talk about it more in my summer top. It is warmer than I thought. Okay, so what will I do? I will put the color, the yarn ends to the front, and then I will reinforce with the stick with my knitting machine on this side and on that side. And then I think I will start with picking up the stitches for the button bands, because I like to do that when all things are connected and a little bit more tighter. And then I will cut the stick. And I think I don't have to weave in the ends because they are secured by the knitting machine. I think it doesn't make sense that I would weave them in. I'm not sure. If you have any suggestions or something wise to say about it, let me know, please, because I never made. I am thinking I did some sticking before, but only not with so many colors. So I think I did weave in those ends, but I don't know. So yeah, I will do that, but I think it will happen on the next week, because this is something I really want to sit down in peace and quietness, because I'm not a big friend with my knitting machine. I don't own a knitting machine. With my sewing machine, we have a bit of a complicated relationship. My husband gave me a sewing machine when our first little boy was born, and he invested in quite a good machine, but we never. I did sew quite some things, but I always struggled with the machine, and I always thought it was not my fault but the machine's fault. But I brought the machine to a place, they fixed it and they checked it. There's nothing wrong with the machine, lady. So I think it is in me. But I am organizing in Dutch, for the Dutch people, something around sewing a dress with the lady who made my dresses, the hinterland dresses, and that will start this week on my Instagram. and I will start sewing again. So we will see if the relationship with my sewing machine will be better. But before I will stick, I have to do a little warming up on some fabric scraps. So I don't want to be I don't want to how do you say it? I don't want to practice on my cardigan. It's too precious. So but last Wednesday I was working with my whole focus on the sock cardigan, and I didn't even do other things in the morning. I usually do, but I really want to finish it. But because the tesknit runs until the end of September, and it's not a very hard deadline, but I really want to finish it so I can go further with my other projects. So I also used my morning crafting time. Even it is a hard jumping project because I really love the colors and the fit is perfect and I really love it, but it doesn't give me the same feeling as making a granny square in all kinds of colors, for example. So I was working on it, and last Wednesday I was feeling so restless. I didn't know, I had some restless energy and I wasn't feeling happy about my knitting, and I really wanted to cast on a new project, but I thought, no, come on, you have to finish that, and it's asking some of my willpower and self-discipline to finish it, and normally I'm quite good at that, but now I was a bit grumpy, and I thought this is not what I want. And then I thought, okay, then work on one of your other projects. I have more projects on my needles, but they were all projects. Socks I don't need, a shawl I don't really need, a blanket I don't really need. It were all projects which are long-term projects, so I always have something around me I can pick up when my hands need something, but I don't need the finished object. And at the same time, there's a very long, still growing list with autumn coming, with all the things. I don't really need something, of course, I have enough, but my daughters are, my husband is asking, when do you finish my cardigan? One of my daughters asking, do you think you can finish my sweater? I didn't start. When you can finish my sweater before my birthday? My other daughter asked, that's also not a nice dochter we say in Dutch. My other girl asked, maybe you can knit me a new pair of socks. And then I have my little niece I want to make all the things for. And I just needed to cast on something for this season. So it was not really impulsive. I really gave it a good thought. And then I thought, okay, let's go. So I casted on a little sweater for my little niece in this lovely Lily Indie project bag she gave to me this summer. I used some stash yarn again. It's from the company I worked for. It's getting boring. I don't think I would bought it myself, but I also didn't declutter it yet. I did with some other yarns, but this one, it's black and browns and grey and yellow and a speckle of orange red, and it's quite variegated, and I think it's even discontinued right now. I'm not quite sure. It's called Lang Yarn Soho. It is a superwash yarn, 80% merino wool and 12% polyamide and 8% acrylic. But I think I would never knit a sweater for myself from it, but I think for a toddler it's quite perfect because you can wash it in the washing machine and see. I think she will grow out in 1 or certainly 2 years, so that's okay. It was my plan to cast on the anchor cardigan because I really love the anchor yoke. It's really satisfying. It's really a relaxing knit with those increases, and it's, I don't know, it's really, it's for me it's really a calming pattern. I did knit a sweater myself and a cardigan for my own girl, I guess. maybe something else, I don't know, but I'm always enjoying that pattern. But I couldn't find it in my printed patterns. I store my patterns printed in paper in a wooden thing and a wooden box, and I couldn't find it, and it was too much asked to print it on my laptop. It was in the evening, and I was, as I said, I was grumpy. I don't want to print that pattern. I even didn't want to search the pattern online and checked it on my laptop. I just want to cast on something. So the pattern I could find was the Novice sweater. Also from Petite Knit, so I casted on that one. I only own the Novice sweater Mohair edition, junior, I guess, the children's sizes. But I think it's very clever from Petite Knit that they publish a pattern for all kinds of yarns. But I think an oversized sweater with a round yoke in this yarn, it's okay. I'm playing a bit with it. It is not a very precious pattern. The pattern is good, but it's you can play with it a bit. So I am playing with it. I love the circle. I think the color is perfect for toddler sweaters because you can't see the spots when they are eating or drawing or whatever. I don't know the right words in English, but they are invisible on this fabric. I casted on the size 2 to 3 years. He's 2.5 years old now. I did knit a Novice sweater in the early spring, I guess, for her, and that was a bit short lengthwise. The sleeves were good, the white was good, and I'm using a thicker yarn right now. So the pattern is meant to be for DK weight. It's meant for a DK weight yarn, and you use 3mm needles for the border, for the ribbing, and 4mm for the stockinette. I used 3.75 for the ribbing and 4.5 for the stockinette. This is actually a little bit thicker than a DK weight, only a little bit, and I'm a loose knitter and the fabric feels nice. So I will finish the yoke, and for the sleeves and the length of the body, I will measure her of a good fitting sweater because he doesn't like the measuring, the fitting. She is really a sweet little girl with the blonde hairs, and it's a quite dark colors. I think it would look lovely on her, and it's an easy peasy work because I can pick it up every now and then, and yeah, it was just what I needed this Wednesday, and it was not impulsive because I really gave it a good thought. I really thought, isn't it better when I finish something else first? And no, it was not better. I needed this, and it helped because I was feeling better, and next day I was happy knitting on my sock cardigan again. So it was nice to follow my heart and to not be too hard on myself. This time. Now, not that I'm hard on myself. I can be hard on myself, but sometimes it's good to cast on something new, and sometimes it's better to don't, because it will not feel good in the end. So I think we are good now. Oh yeah, the last thing I want to share a little bit more about is I told in my episode in the forest last Monday, I told a little bit about beading dragons, and I promised you that I would come back to that topic later. A little bit of background information. Our children went to a Waldorf school. The youngest two still are. They are on a Waldorf high school right now. I don't have a Waldorf background, an anthroposophy. I googled it. Anthroposophy. I think you say it like that. I don't have such a background, so also not the knowledge. We started with in the town I live. You have all kinds of primary schools, and we just started the school around the corner, and it was actually fine. But a few years later, there were things changing, and there were how do you say it? we met all kinds of people, and the Waldorf thing was coming into our lives on several ways and several moments. And at one point we thought we would fit in better there. So we went to the Waldorf school, and that was a complete new world for us. I really loved that world, I really felt it felt a bit as coming home. I really loved the aesthetics, the stories, the people, the materials, it was a bit mysterious. I really loved it. So that was very nice. And one of the things, I don't know, I'm not a person who deep dives in the background information on this. You can find all the things you want to know on the internet. I have a Dutch website on which it's explained, but I don't know which websites are good in English. Maybe if you are more familiar with the Waldorf community and all the things, you can maybe you can share a link down below. I'm not, I don't know, and it's okay for me, because how it works in my life is when this is a school thing, but when I met someone or when I'm in a place which really resonates with me, I pick out the things that resonates and I collect them, and it can be all different things. So about this topic, at school, in the Waldorf community, there are celebrations through the year, and one of the celebrations is Michaelmas. Do you say that like we say it? Michaelsfeest. Michaelmas in September. It's the celebration in which the transition is from summer to autumn, from the light period to the dark period, and there is a lot of more information around. But one of the things that's told in stories and is coming back is the fight with the dragon, beating the dragon. And that was something that really resonates with me. The celebration on the school of my kids was also beating the dragon. The older kids were playing the dragon and the horses, and the younger kids were playing the knights and the princess, and that was part of the celebration. And it's also a friend of mine, she told me that this is the perfect time of the year to beat your own dragons. And I really felt that. It felt so as if it was completely true, and if it was so good. And I really embraced it, because it is the perfect time of the year to beat your own dragons, when you are filled with all the energy of the summer and the sun, and so you are very powerful right now. And we are going, in the part of the world where I live, we are going to the dark period, the dark days. I believe it is still next week. It is changing. Then the nights will become longer than the days, but they are quite equal right now. But you are going inside. You turn inside, and it is very interesting to decide what you will take with you in the dark period and what you will leave behind. Which things aren't serving you, or aren't making you happy, or aren't matching with who you want to be or who you are. Which dragons have you to beat, so they will leave you alone when you are going into the winter. And I really love to use that way of looking to your personal stuff on crafting, on the crafting part of your life, on the knitting and crochet part. Which dragons are annoying me while I'm crocheting and knitting? So I do that for quite a few years, and it's so interesting to be aware of your dragons. So one of my dragons used to be that I always thought, that's too difficult for me, that's too hard for me. Knitting socks, too difficult. Knitting color work, no, way too hard. And I could think that about everything, but I really beat that dragon, because now I know if I really want it, I can learn it. And maybe most of the time it take me quite some time to learn it. But if I really want it, I can do it. So knitting socks is easy peasy for me now. Knitting colorwork is easy peasy. And it was so nice to beat that dragon, because the dragon was always telling me, no, too hard, no, not for you. And that dragon isn't here anymore. It was really a dragon with 7 heads, so it took quite some power to beat it, but I did it. And it is very interesting to search for your dragons in all parts of your life, but let we stay at the crochet and the knitting part and beat them in this time of the year. So when you have dragons to beat, and you would love to share them to inspire other people, you don't have to when you want to keep them for your own. It's completely okay. But when you love to share them, feel free to share them in the comments. I'm very curious. I read every comment. I never reply. It takes too much time, but I always give hearts, and I am really enjoying all the comments every time again. But my dragons, I thought I had 3. One of my dragons was last Monday. I was sharing with you, I really want to be comfortable with filming in the wild. And I was thinking about that. I really would love to take you with me, especially in the English episode, to see a little bit of the world in which I live. But I feel very uncomfortable filming in the wild, and my dragon is it's not really about the camera and the filming, but the dragon is about being who you are, behave yourself like you want, without being bothered by what other people are thinking, or thinking bad things your own. And there is a dragon for me. It's not about the camera. It's just, I have a desire. I want to show you this. And to fulfill, is that a good word? To fulfill that desire, I need specific behavior, being in the wild with my camera. And it doesn't serve me to judge myself about that, or to worry about what other people will think. So I will practice with that, and it's very powerful when you can be yourself anytime, anyway, without being bothered by what other people think or would say, because it doesn't matter, because this is who you are, and that's okay. And of course, you have to respect other people. That's important. So. But you can be who you are. So that's one of my dragons, filming for my podcast in the wild, being who I am, 100% without being bothered about the opinion of other people. My second dragon was, I also told about it before, I collect more than I need. Yarns, patterns, mainly yarns and patterns. Those are my weak points. Other points I'm quite okay with, but there's coming much more into my life than I can use. So I have quite a stash, and for quite a while it felt good to collect, but we are not in balance anymore. My stash and we are unbalanced. I feel that it slowed down my creativity. It decreases my creativity. That's not the right combination, but you know what I mean. Because I feel too overwhelmed, and every time I see a new pattern or new yarn or new tesknit, and I want to collect it, but there is no space for my own creativity to flow. There is space, because I've made my life in such a way right now that I have quite a simple life with a lot of time. It was not always so, far from that, but now I have a really lovely life, but still there is too much stuff. So it is my dragon for quite a while, because my plan was to not buy any new yarn or no yarns and patterns in 2023, but I completely failed, and it's not a big problem, because I only know that my desire is real. I really want to beat that dragon, but and I'm working on that. So not collecting more patterns or more yarns in the same tempo I did for quite a while, but using what I have and doing what I love. So that's also a dragon. And the third one, the last one, is a dragon around time. There is still, although I have quite some time, there is still quite some time I spend on things I actually don't want to do. And the biggest one is spending time on my phone. And I'm quite sure there are a lot of people who recognize that. Those phones are fantastic. They make us able to connect with all over the world and with all the people and with all the nice stuff. But they are also designed in such a way that you can't put it away. And I feel a bit vulnerable, a bit. I don't want to say weak, because it's not only my fault. They are built very clever, but I don't want to spend so much time on my phone because it isn't serving my desire. I really want to create my own. I need the time to create, but I also need the quietness to create. When my head is filled with all the creativity of other people, there's no space for my own creativity. So what was I thinking myself? That's something I ask myself quite often. What do I really like? And for me, it's very important to keep that authentism. Is that a word? Authenticity. Because that's who I am. And yeah, for me it's really important. And there are other things that I spend time on, not as big as the phone, but I really want to be aware, do I want to spend my time on this? Do I need to spend my time on this? Of course, there are also things you need to spend time on, you don't really want to, but you need. I don't really want to clean my toilet, but I do want to clean toilet. So that's also a desire, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. So that's also a dragon I want to beat. I don't know exactly how, but it's step one is being aware of the dragon. So that's interesting. So yeah, those are my three things on crafting in my crafting life. What was it already? Being yourself 100%. Collecting less, and creating more time. Yeah. Okay. That's enough about that. I just make my own thing, my own soup of all the information. I don't know in which way it connects with the Waldorf idea. I don't know. I don't care, because this works for me, and this is really what I love and what inspires me. So I hope maybe there's something you are also inspired by. And again, if you have dragons on your knitting, in your knitting or crochet life to beat, feel free to share them. And I think it's also very interesting to check which dragons there are in your personal life and deep dive in that. But that's a personal part. So, but it is the time of the year to do that. So if it also resonates with you, go for it. And if it doesn't. If it doesn't, it's also okay. Yeah, then just knit and crochet. Okay. Yeah, this was it. It is weekend right now. It is Friday afternoon. I have again a nice thing to do this weekend. It is the latest crafting event. And then it's also okay. I have enough crafting events. Had enough crafting events for a while. I will go. Oh, I didn't check the word. I will go on a hike. It's very nice. There is a Dutch knitter, and she is also, in Dutch we call it a boswachter. And when I translated it literally, I would say a wood wader, a forest wader. Her job is to take care of the forest. And she's very familiar in the forest where she lives. It's not near where I live. It's in another part of the Netherlands. We have a very small country. I think I have to drive 90 minutes or something. And she organized those nice days when you go with a group of knitters or crocheters, a group of creative persons, creative people. You go for a hike, and then you have a picnic. and you knit and crochet and connect. It's about the connection and enjoy the lovely surrounding, and then you go back and you do some knitting again, I guess, and it's very nice. And yeah, I really am looking forward to it. It is getting a bit too warm for it, I'm afraid, but okay, we can wear the summer tops. Let's take a light. Let's shine our light on the positive side. I want rain and I want cold. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I will beat my dragon hopefully Sunday and film when all the people are around me. I can practice. Yeah, I will bring my sword with me, I guess. Okay. So those are my plans for the weekend, and I will show you a bit on Monday. I wish you a very nice weekend with hopefully a lot of crafting time, with a lot of heart jumping moments, and I hope to see you this Monday. Thank you for watching. Bye bye!